Honest as Hell, a Men of Metal podcast. I'm your host, Kip Brooks. Welcome back to the show. So, I'd spoken another episode about just um, tag team etiquette and just some things to think about when joining into a tag team partnership of any kind. And someone had actually sent in a question about this kind of related to copied that into it, whatever. Um, and but realize I haven't released that episode yet. So, um, and part of the questioning, part of the conversation that unfolded covered some other areas. So, um, I will fill in the gaps here and try to make sure the other one comes out first. So in the other one, recap just kind of going off my memory here because it's about 3 weeks ago from my real time that it was recorded. So I talked about just keeping communication with your tag team partner, uh, keeping it open, being very upfront about whatever it is if you're struggling with something. That way nobody's blindsided. Somebody can watch back. You know, as this is a great business. This is if you get in and do it right, you can hit some crazy numbers. You can uh, bring in a lot of income in a relatively short period of time, but it does come with a cost. Um, uh, and part of the reason why it pays as much is because it does bring a lot of stress. Like the work itself is not, um, but there are things around it that can be. And then definitely if the damage is bad, like yeah, that's hard. Like we know all the things. Like I feel like anything that's actually a stressor on the road is kind of obvious, or at least doing the work. That's all kind of obvious. And but that is not, and sadly, they say the master makes the work look easy. That's not the quote, but you know what quote I'm not remembering right now, that I'm kind of referring to. Um, that is part of what draws people into this because they see how quick we can actually get through a car. Once you've mastered your skill a bit, or not even mastered it. It's like, you get a couple of years under you pick up some pretty good speed, and you can get through a fairly hit hill car, way quicker than a body shop can. So body shop guys are seeing it, and I said, whoa, and I've seen so many guys get in because of that, and that's awesome. And again, here's part of the truth of the trail is, dude, pushing the dent, fixing the hell is the easiest part of this business. Um, with that said, like becoming a master tradesman at this is freaking insanely hard. Very challenging and tedious and takes time. And then I've learned the hard way that a couple of the a couple of the right, I say that with air quotes for those of you listening, not watching, a few of the right health issues or health challenges, and it's gone. And you got to start over if it can even be regained. There are definitely plenty of stories of guys having some severe health issues and medical challenges and not ever be able to get this back. Um, but even if you're perfectly healthy, excellent vision, all of that, it takes time. It takes a lot to work this. Um, so yeah, we get to that. Just enter in the arena of mastery, and it gets really quick and it starts to flow. And that's when you actually start to get start making up for, we don't have college debt, but we acquire other forms of debt of just toughing it out to make it in this business. Um, and sometimes after it's said and done, there are times I've wondered if it's always worth it. And I don't think it is I don't think everybody reaches that point where it truly is worth it. Um, but it can be. And, man, it can bring a magical lifestyle to you. Um, and, the stress outside of the actual work, outside of the hard skills of this, even outside of the soft skills, um, outside of pushing the dents, then you've got the negotiation process with the adjusters. You've got the sales process, getting the work in, the marketing. But that's all just business. But one thing we have to deal with that a lot of businesses don't, a lot of industries don't, is we are gone from home a lot longer and a lot more frequent than others, than most other industries. And if you don't do like Dan Altrop does and preaches, or Dave Streen, or I preach to guys now and rarely practiced it, um, and until it was too late, really, is taking advantage of, you do work. You are an independent contractor. You do work for yourself. See yourself as a business and yourself as the number one employee. Um, and take care of your number one employee to make sure that that number one employee can constantly provide for you and keep turning those numbers and doesn't get burnt out. I remember, uh, I was working, I think it was 2000, yeah, it would have been 2016. Um, I wasn't officially divorced, but I was deep in the separation waters, and I was working, a horrible deal for, Mechanic Group, whatever they're called, um, and we weren't getting paid anywhere near what we should have for the work we were doing. Um, uh, I was burnt out, completely just roasted and lit on fire. I was not getting to see the kids very much. I was in the middle of Texas, and then kids were 1,300 miles away, and um, and I was stressing quite a bit over when's the next time I'm going to be able to see them, what games are going to be played. Just so many different things. And on top of all that, I was supposed to be retired the year before that, and here I was starting over, at ground zero, um, and this whole life I had built, this whole amazing goal that when I would tell people, they would laugh at me. My in-laws did, my kids' grandparents did, everyone. They just would laugh at me, and I hit it years ahead of schedule. Not like light years ahead of schedule, but a couple years ahead of schedule. And the original goal of where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, and how I wanted to get there, like it was a partial retirement idea at a certain age. And for anyone, it was pretty, crazy. But definitely people who knew my past and like knew what I came from. And so to actually get there where no one believed I could do it, not even me, just that anyone could really do it. Yeah, people just didn't believe it. Much less, like I say, anyone that knew me, knew where I started, knew where I came from, saw how bad I struggled in the first 2 years, and, yeah, I was literally laughed at in my face by some people. who were very close to me. So then to hit a schedule and have it taken away, and then be at rock bottom, basically. Like I started over with $432, and that was it. A suitcase with all my clothes in it. Bed in my truck had all my tools, not all my tools, the tools I could fit, which it was a Chevy Avalanche. So anyone that is familiar with those, some of you guys are too young to probably ever see one. Just about because you're babies, and I'm a dinosaur. But um, it wouldn't hold that many tools, so I had to leave a lot of stuff, and um, that person sold it all. Um, but yeah, I had a set of tools, at least enough to get the job done. Mostly with what skills I had. Uh, One suitcase that had basically all, well, it was all my clothes then, and then a backpack, and then then some of my favorite books. And that might sound odd to people, but I'm a personal development junkie and a book junkie. So a few of my favorites I took with me, and that's all I had. And I was starting completely over. And like I say, I was supposed to be retired, and now I was starting out right back where I was when I was struggling in the new business just years before. Um, uh, so I was embarrassed. I was ashamed of myself. I was ashamed of the situation. I was confused. I was all the things, all the negative emotions. I had been working towards a goal that was agreed upon by the other person who ended it all. We had signed a contract. We had done all this stuff. Like we had gone through counseling and a major financial goal for couples workshop thing to hash all these details out in this dozen page contract and agreed on everything. And then when I got there, I had a schedule. That's what was thrown in my face to uh, to be the reason that I was being torn away, which didn't make sense to me in that moment either. And it was just a cop out. But um, I was like, but I'm like done now. Like I'm gonna work one storm, maybe a year, like 1 month a year. But anyway, but then truth came out, and here we are, more than a decade later, and there are still truths coming out. Um, so yeah, that point of my life, I was messed up emotionally and mentally, and like I remember, I was just I had such a negative demeanor. I didn't like myself at that point because I knew, but I was mad at myself that I had turned a blind eye to so many things that had led to that. And I was mad at myself for putting in as much effort. I was like, I did literally everything that I could. We went to counseling with therapists, all this stuff, and it didn't matter. I was like, put my heart and soul into uh, making a family life work, blah blah blah, make a relationship work, and it cost me everything, including that family. Uh, and and again, to I was I still turning a blind eye to how much of it, how much I'd been lied to, how much was smoke and mirrors. But the amount I knew, like, it was really messing with me, and because I was more upset with myself, and I say I was like embarrassed about it, and I had the business, the industry became my scapegoat for a little bit. I had no one else. I was alone, and I was already beating myself up. but I couldn't get myself to express things externally because I knew questions would come up from other people and I didn't have answers or I didn't want to acknowledge the answer. I'm sure a few of you listening can kind of relate to us being in some sort of situation like that where you just aren't there yet where you can fully admit because you're just embarrassed. I remember Manny Terrace, the the Puerto Rican pimp, man, Dent Master. God, that dude's such a good tech and such a good human, and one of the best smiles in the business. Um, and which reminds me, I was when I saw him at Expo this year. I said he was from Costa Rica when I introduced him to my wife. I don't know why I did that, Manny. I apologize. Uh, dang. um, wow, that's rude. I know you're not from Costa Rica. Uh, anyway, I was confusing the Ricas. Um, but I was going on my own flashbacks then and now. So back to the show. Uh, but Manny had what they call where I come from a come to Jesus moment with me, and we happened to be tagging a couple of cars together for. He was only there helping out for a little bit on this deal, and um, we were rolling along, getting through them, knocking out the work, and yeah, he had this just kind of Jesus moment meeting with me, and it like snapped me out of it. It took me a little bit. It wasn't like a quick snap. It was a snap, and then it was painful, like a compound fracture, and then uh, I started reflecting on it, and it took a lot of um, I don't even have the word. It just took so much for me to admit how crappy I'd been to myself and those around me. And when Manny said that, like I was just like, man, I was taken aback because I knew he was right. And then to have someone be that caring to call it like they see it and just shoot straight from the hip. And he's like, man, this is an awesome business. You got to stop beating yourself up, taking it out on the business, whatever the heck you got going on. Like, I don't remember exactly what he said because I think I blacked out there for a bit because my head blew up because it's just like, good God, he's right, man. How did I let it get like this? Like, what all happened, happened, but how did me of all people, stay right here? And, uh, and I think we tagged that week. He was just in town for a few days and then he bounced on to something else. And he was like my guardian angel or something that came in just to snap me out of it. Um, let's say it wasn't a quick snap. Man, I was, I found rock bottom's gutter. Um, so it took a little bit to like really shake it off. And again, I still was not even getting past the surface level of what all in my life had been a lie or manipulation tactics or whatever because it was not just uh, the mother of my children. It was I had an two attorneys and an accountant that we're all jumping on the bandwagon and trying to squeeze me like I was Steve Harvey or something. It's like that. I don't make anywhere near what that dude makes. He makes in a month more than I was making in a year. Uh, but leeches will leech. And I still wasn't a good tag team partner to let Manny know or Andrew, the dude I was. the shop foreman. He was also kind of tagging with us. Um, I didn't let anybody know. Because, like I say, for one part, there was a large amount of shame and embarrassment around it. There was also a lot of confusion. And then also, I was just raised in this, with this, in this environment that I had belief that I still battle with this today that if something's wrong, I fix it, I tough it up, I suck it up, and get on with it. And it's not anybody else's burden to carry but mine. And ironically, when we do that, it is very easy for men to fall into that. And when we do that, we are actually making ourselves more of a burden. We are actually being more of a burden to those around us because they pick up on it. They know something's wrong. Um, and if it's bothering us, it's throwing us off somewhere. Um, and if we don't tell them to where they understand it's something else, subconscious mind and human nature is to just take things personal, at least a little bit. So the whole time somebody's working next to you, or like if you're with your wife or your girlfriend or your partner or whoever, I know we have some dent ladies in the business, so your boyfriend's husband, whatever. Um, if we're carrying that burden alone and not, that's the thing, we're not ever carrying it alone. It's just we're the only ones who know what we're actually freaking carrying. So, if we let them in on it, then they know it's not something with them. And then they understand the load, the extra load that's being dumped on them. And it actually frees them up a little bit. And then also, too, they can start watching our blind spots. Catch us before we do something to set ourselves on fire or burn a bridge or whatever it is. Um, and that in a lot of ways I'm an awesome tag partner, but in that way I suck. Absolutely. I say I can I can list so many. I've probably done some version of that with everyone I've ever tagged a car with. um, and that's probably a fair statement, I'm sure. I mean, because I say just we tough it out, and sure there are things that aren't even, by the time you even express them, they're not even a thing anymore. But um, when it's something that you're thinking about, and you're thinking about it more than you're basically thinking about much else, you need to bring it up. It's just fair. And even if you're working solo, bring it up to the people around you that you're working for. Like it's fair. Just even if you're handling the work's getting done, like it's there. And you don't have to go into full detail. You don't break down and cry. It's not a therapy session. Like, don't go lay on the couch and just lay it all out there. Um, but bring it up. I'm kind of struggling with something. Like, it's bothering me. I'm getting through it. But, if I seem a little different, if I seem a little on edge, or seem like I'm frustrated, or, whatever, just know that I'm working through stuff. Whatever. Like, let's say just a little bit, just so they know it's not something with them. Um, and the air is clear. It also really helps keep you from burning out. Um, and and just expressing stuff like that helps. But it's it helps you, it helps them, and it helps the whole team, the whole ecology of the situation. And it helps your family, the ones that are counting on you. Because if you're better, you're going to do better, you provide better, you get, just, I can't express that enough, the importance of that. Uh, and I really hope that, say, it's cost me a lot in different ways, mentally, emotionally, financially, physically. Um, spiritually, whatever way you can think of. I've seen it cost me in different areas of my life. And uh, and like I say, that was more than 10 years ago. And there are still things, still little scars and wounds and stuff that I pick up on from that. And uh, and there were times even after that conversation with Manning that I'd still be carrying it, and I would bring it home. I'd bring it around. I would start noticing down the road where times when games were getting played that I had to fight so hard to be in my kid's life and spend time with them that it would I would start associating that stress and frustration with the kids, um, instead of directing it somewhere else because I wasn't sending it like I wasn't doing anything positive with it. Like I was just using it. Thought I was. Thought I was using it to fuel me forward and build something and use my anger or whatever to like power through and hit awesome numbers and just blast through a ton of work and not sleep and just be fueled by rage and you know and Rockstar energy drinks or whatever I was drinking at the time and just get through it. And But still I'd be so burnt out that when I was with the kids it's like I wasn't fully present always. um and even when I was aware that I wasn't being fully present, I would try, man, I'd be exhausted, and just not fully there, or feel like I was faking it, and they would pick up on it. And it's like just because there was, say, you walk around as a ball of tension all the time. Um, like ball your fist up right now, just clench it, and notice how quickly it starts to just burn or cramp or throb. And so when you and it starts to ache, and like you gotta let it go pretty quick, and you notice how quickly the energy and strength in it starts dwindling. Um, just imagine how much we're carrying that around in our body, like everywhere else, neck and shoulders. And then we wonder why doing this work and being in these positions and then being stressed out from whatever, um, we wonder how come our shoulder never stops hurting. It's not just the repetition in the work, it's a lot of this. So um, we, uh, I was about to get sidetracked into the language and the link between language and our medical stuff, but that's like seven issues or episodes. Um, and this is not the time or place to go on another side quest, but um, yeah, whenever you're going through it, voice it up front. Know it. I've been on those deals where, or been in those spots where it's like, man, I need this deal. I got to get on it. And I've gone and made the money, and no one knew anything, and everything was great, whatever. Um, and I didn't voice it because I'd be afraid if I tell them up front, man, they might not want me on there. They'll think I'm a train wreck. Um, it's usually quite the opposite. But uh, I say it's just better to let the people you're working with or working for or whatever let them know. Um, because 9 out of 10 times you'll be fine, and then there will be that one time that you've got just some nitpicky customer, or you've got an adjuster who just some about him reminds you of somebody who ticked you off once or cut you off in traffic or something, and it'll be just something ridiculous. They'll say something, they'll do something. There's something about their demeanor, whatever it is, and you're on edge, and just you didn't sleep well the night before, and just bam, you blow up. And and it cost the job, it cost the spot, it cost something. Like it's those are the blind spots I'm talking about. And and I promise you, when you start working on it and addressing it instead of trying to pack it in, I used to keep a junk hood. First hood of the storm that we would scrap, I would keep and never throw away, and I would keep it over next to my tools, over at a wall, whatever. And when I would get angry, I'd walk over with a slide hammer or tool and just pound the crap out of it. And there was times where that, in the beginning, started doing that. It was my modification of what's called an anger dance. Came from Native American tribes way back in the day. Um, and um, that hood would last me the whole storm. Then I got to at one point where that hood wouldn't last a week because I was blasting a hole through it with a, and I still have one of the slide hammer suckers warped on the shaft. Um, and But I would explain to people, like I would tell them what it was. Everybody's cool with it, and I never used it when there was like customer around, whatever. Like it was, I was in the back of the shop, like I covered all the bases, blah blah blah, and um, but it still didn't look good, and now, yeah, it didn't look good. But I remember when I started working on this stuff, and I was working in Louisiana in the winter, and a local guy I know there, a friend of mine, Jason. He, I was working on this blasted long wheelbase Escalade or Denali, pearl white, and we're putting the hood back on, and it's freezing outside. It was super cold for Baton Rouge. It's cold for anywhere, and my hands weren't working right, and we're trying to put the bolts on, and I dropped the bolt down the fender, and it was a body style that once it's in that fender, you're not getting it back. And without, because it's all double walled and everything, you got, you know, whatever. So I got the next bolt, I drop it. He hands me another bolt, I drop it, and all three of them are down in my fender. Usually by the second one, that was enough to set me off, and the third one would have made me slam the head against the wall. Probably, I would have been pissed. Like I said, at that point in life, I was a ball of stress, especially that around that particular time. And instead, I started laughing, and we didn't have anything to hold the hood on now because we only got one bolt. So we had to take the hood back in, sit on a stand, and go to the dealership and get some replacements. But I started laughing. Car's got to go. I'm freezing, trying to catch the bolt. I'd busted my hand, like all these little things that would have set me off in the past. And I started laughing, like kind of hysterically. And Jason actually thought I was having a bit of a nervous breakdown because he's like, dude, are you all right? And I was like, yeah, why you ask? He's like, man, last time I was around you, he's like, with everything that's going on, he's like, that would have set you off. You'd have been pissed. And he was like, and you're laughing about it. And that made me laugh more because once he said it, I realized how far I'd come in my own self work. And that was actually right after I got my first certification in neurolinguistics and hypnosis. And that's where I'd done the deepest amount of work at that point that I'd ever done on myself, and got on a stage in front of a large group of people, triple digits worth of people, and started sharing some stuff and started working on it with the psychiatrist who was leading the thing. And he gave me my certifications and psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, PhD of something. And That was so freeing. Like, and then I realized, like in that moment, then I had these flashes of the last several weeks, couple months, whatever, of all these different times that would have set me off in the past and never had, not during that time. And to look at it all on paper like that, I was kind of at the peak uh, of like this of a 5 year thing there. This like 5 to 8, 5, 7, 8 year window. Really, I was at the peak of the most stressful point, and yet I was handling it better than I'd ever handled anything in my life, and I was truly handling it well. Like I was in good spirits about it. I was rolling through it. And it was on the tail end of, let's say, going through some workshops and some training programs that were uh, deep, but also like Manny having that conversation with me was a huge, what's called pattern interrupt. And then Keith Cosentino had a conversation with me, and um, and that had helped, and like all these different things that had built up to going from being a ticking time bomb in human form um, to now like the most chill dude on the storm, regardless of what was going on, and and it all came on the back of it was all built from that foundation of actually sharing with people what was going on. Um, and part of the reason why was a big part of it that I didn't realize until years later was it's not only a blow off valve of letting a little bit of it out so you don't feel like you've got it all packed in. And it wasn't just letting them know. So they're kind of aware. So nobody's taking anything as directed towards them. And they're actually trying to support instead of ever feeling like they need to be on defense with you. Um, all of that helps. But but also it was awareness of um, knowing that it's like it's been shared, it's out here, and in an energetic sense, I can see it now because it's outside of myself, and like I've said it, and I survived. I shared it, and I survived. They are still here. Everything's here. Okay, this environment's safe. This is cool. This is stable ground. Um, and uh, and it's just that say an awareness of okay, I've shared it out here. They're not going to be you know, triggered by much, like just by me being in this. And therefore, I'm not on edge because I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not tense just around trying to pretend like I'm not tense. So it gave this like relaxation and just a relaxation around it. And then begin kind of moving a little more freely and just being able to take a breath. And like I say, I'm beating the dead horse here, but it really started shifting not just my own results, like financial wise or work wise. I was sleeping better. I was moving quicker. I was getting through work even faster, and I was actually more chill at it and not trying to bull through it. Um, Smooth is slow is smooth, smooth is fast, but either way, smooth is fast. And I was just more calm, less rigid, less tense, and just moving smooth. And uh, I just noticed the crews I was around, the impact it made. Just because people are on edge, right? Like say that you're holding all this stuff inside, and you become a ticking time bomb, and everyone else picks up on it at least a little bit. Even the least aware among us pick up on it. Quantum physics and so many other um, modalities show all the time that there is some kind of connection between us. Um, don't know what it is without starting to sound really crazy woo woo or just going deep into the knowledge on the scientific end of trying to explain it. But um, We know this. We walk into a room and it's like, oh, this place is has a cool vibe to it. Walk into another one and it's like, what's going on in here? Something's off. Like we pick up on that. We recognize that. But whenever it comes to us in our work area or our home life or whatever, we think that we can just ignore what's going on and it not cause an issue. And that's not how it works. So um, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to the people who count on you at home and on the road. You owe it to those people you're working around to express a little bit of that. And yeah, they'll ask questions. A lot of people aren't picky about it. Like, appreciate you letting me know. If you need anything, let me know. And that's about it. Like it's not a big deal. Um, I have had a few people say, what's going on, man? Let's go talk. But for the most part, people got their own stuff going on, and they don't want to pry on yours, and they assume, or a lot of people don't know what to say, or they assume if there's something to really talk about, you'll talk about it to them. Like it's not a big deal. It's really not. We're all adults. We all got stuff going on, so um, really let that go. And actually, before I wrap it up, I remember here's another thing. I was working an auto auction once and I was trying to get a tool. I was going through the tail light, trying to get around a fuel pocket, trying to kind of just punch through the glue a little bit, or there was some inner um, foam and stuff outside the fuel pocket, but it had, kind of filled up. They went a little extra with this one. I think it was a replacement panel or something. And I was trying to make sure it stayed in line with where I needed to get to the dent. And as it went in, once it finally gave, um, my hand slipped with the tool and I caught my knuckle and I cut it on a jagged piece of metal and um, had like just a sharp edge around the taillight pocket a little bit. And I busted my knuckle. And I just I was just kind of dancing around, shaking my hand. I didn't I might have screamed ow or just grunted or something. I didn't scream, I didn't kick, didn't do anything, but like the I pulled the tool out when I did and just in how I flung it, it flew out of my hand and bounced on the parking lot. Nowhere near another car. Like I was at the end of a line, like all of that. It's just like, and I'm sitting here, kind of bouncing a little bit with my hand and shaking it, and then just like, oh man. And then I was checking the panel, make sure it didn't get messed up. And one of I don't remember his position, but he was a manager of the auction, and he came over and he's like, "Man, don't let any of this ever get to you." He's like, "I used to come to work really stressed out, and just put myself under all this pressure because I'm running this big auto auction and everything." And yeah, that's right. He was like the VP or something. Like he was the man. If he wanted you gone, you were gone. Didn't matter who you were. Um, and he's like, he's like, I came home uh, one day and my kid sister was dead. She was 26, no warning signs, perfectly healthy, and just fell over dead. And he's like, we had just gotten in a fight that morning. He's like, I hadn't talked to her all day. He's like, she tried reaching out to me and blah blah blah, whatever. He said, but we got in a fight because of how much of a high strung person I was. He completely saw the situation wrong, but we had a really good conversation after that. But his point was beautiful, um, and he's like, I realized he's like my last words to my favorite person on the planet. Um, he's like, were spoken in anger. He's like, it really came from a hateful place. He's like, oh, because she cared for me and she missed me. And he's like, I think of that every day. And he's like, that was 20 years ago. And he's like, but ever since then, he's like, none of this really matters. He's like, I do my job, I do it really well. And on the days I don't, I just try to fix it. And he's like, not everything goes my way. And he said, but I make sure that I communicate with one person on my team every single day. And he's like, today that person's you. And I was just like, man, that's really dope. That's really awesome. I appreciate it. And then he saw my hand was bleeding. So what the heck happened? It's like, I told him, he's like, oh, I thought you were mad. I was like, well, I was kind of in pain and it's sort of mad that I hurt myself, but not, no. He's like, oh, I thought you were mad because the dent wasn't coming out. Dude, I'll never get mad about that. I used to, I don't anymore. But, and, that, like say it, you don't know how someone else is taking. You know what's going on inside your head. He didn't know what was going on inside my head. He thought I was getting ready to like after we talked about it, we got my hand bandaged up and stuff. Um, we talked about it. He thought I was actually getting ready to start punching and kicking a car because that's he's had that happen. Um, and it's like, no, I'm not. I'm not that stupid. Even in my most angriest of point of life, I've never uh, done that because that would cost me the gig or cost whoever has the gig. I was like, and I always put my money over myself. That's probably why I was so angry. But yeah, just again, like he drove across the auction lot, and anyone who's ever worked in auction, like this wasn't a Manheim auction, but it's Anderson, South Carolina, I think is where it was. Um, it's a fairly decent size auction, and he drove. I was on the far side of the lot, so how he even saw me, like I had to be the size of a large ant from where his office is, and he got in a car and drove all the way over there to deliver that message to me, and then bandaged me up. I still have a scar from that now that I'm looking. Um, but yeah, you don't know how someone else is taking it. If he'd have been a customer, that could have cost something. Shoot, if he would have not been the person he was, we all know it. There are GMs of dealerships, corporate body shops, especially auctions, all this stuff. That if they see you acting a certain way, it's no questions asked. You're out of there. Another time I cut my knuckle was at Magna Power. They supply body parts to manufacturing plants. And there was a manager there who told us, he's like, if I find you stepping over that line, you're out. I don't like you guys being here. I don't want you here. Um, don't you dare. And he's like, here's all the rules, all the safety rules. And if I catch you not following any of them, you are out. He's like, if you take your safety glasses off while you're on the line, he's like, I don't care if you're cleaning the lens off, you're out. And I cashed my hand on a piece of uh, fresh metal on a what would have been a BMW X5 roof, and it needed stitches bad. It was deep, and I just put it in my pants pocket and bled all over myself until we got out of there because I wasn't going to cost my buddies that were there working. I wasn't going to cost them the day's work. Um, and he had already said, he's like, if you get hurt, this is what you do, but then you're all going home. Um, and I wasn't gonna allow that. And I got a little lightheaded that day from bleeding. Finally got it to stop, but got a nice little scar from that one too. But anyway, yeah, just for those that are still around listening, awesome. I see you, I hear you, I feel you. If you're ever in those spots and you need to vent or you're going through some stuff or you need to know how to bring it up to those you're working around or whatever, feel free to reach out. Um, I'm usually pretty dang good at that because I've had to bring up a lot. I've been through some crap. So yeah, keep rocking, keep pushing. Some new storms hit yesterday. Hope everybody is working and killing it and doing great. Thanks for listening. See you guys next time.